Indeed, happy to have Honorable Minister for Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, Government of India, Shri Shrom Prakash ji, as our chief guest today. I also extend a warm welcome to Madam Sumita Daura, Joint Secretary, DPIIT, also the Chairman of Canara Bank, Padma Shri T.M. Manoharan ji, and other distinguished panel members who will speak about their respective sectors and also talk about the need for improving and engaging the diaspora in the India's future economic activity. With this, I will give you a little background of PIOCCI and what we are, who we are. PIOCCI is the only chamber focusing on diaspora. It is therefore titled as People of Indian Origin Chamber of Commerce. Remember, the word is people of Indian origin because now we are seeing the third or fourth generation of uh, Indian origin people now residing in various parts of the world. Take, for example, South Africa or Fiji or some other countries, Girimitia countries especially. So, therefore, they are no more to be qualified simply as NRIs. So, they are now people of Indian origin, and this diaspora now comprises of almost 33 million people. And it is not just 33 million number, but it is $1.5 trillion net worth. All put together, they have $1.5 trillion net worth, and that is a huge, huge sum. And that is the strength of our diaspora. So, with this in mind, people of Indian Origin Chamber of Commerce and Commerce Ministry through Invest India, we are happy to say that we launched this PIO help desk early this year on January 10th with the simple intention that this diaspora who is interested in investments in India, which is probably the size of investment that the hundreds and thousands of startups in this country are looking for, that can be channelized through one single window mechanism, which will help all these investors, diaspora investors, to participate in India's growth story. And this seminar, therefore, is in a way, I would say, follow up of that launch of PIO Help Desk, which we did early this year on January 10th. I'm happy to see Madam Daura once again joining us for this. Also, Siddharth Anand from Invest India. So these two officials from Invest India and from Ministry of Commerce and Industries were very, very cooperative. Not just cooperative, but we have made sure that this platform now becomes functional. PIOCCI works very closely not only with the diaspora but also with Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Home Affairs, and a couple of other departments in Government of India, and also the embassies and missions abroad. We have chapters in about 35 countries in the world, and some of the chapters are very active in terms of their activities. Honorable late Minister for External Affairs Sushma Swaraj ji launched our UAE chapter, and we also have a chapter registered now in Malaysia, in Latvia, in the Baltics, and couple of other destinations. While other chapters work as informal association bodies in those respective countries under their laws. So this is what PIOCCI does. The other aspect of PIOCCI's engagement has been partnering with various state governments in their investment summits. We have seen over the last few years that various state governments have taken initiatives, and what our Honorable Prime Minister calls as competitive federalism. The various state governments are hoping and trying to engage the investors, foreign investors, or diaspora investors into the activities in their states. So PIOCCI has partnered with various states in the past and works very closely with them. The last one was the Himachal event, which was held in Dharamshala. Before that, it was in Uttar Pradesh, in Haryana, and a couple of other states where PIOCCI partnered with the state governments for uh, uh, building bridges between the diaspora investors and the local entrepreneurs. So our focus is very, very, I would say, straightforward, and we work for the interest of Indian industry and engage them with the diaspora investors. And this is across the industry verticals. So I think this is a very good initiative, and I must thank Honorable Minister and the officials of the ministry to once again, in a way, say that restart or re-energize this entire initiative. The idea that Honorable Minister has talked about, the Atmanirbhar Bharat, I'm sure will have a lot of opportunities for the diaspora investors. With this, I stop here. I welcome everyone on the webinar here, Honorable Minister, the speakers, the panel members, the officials from various government bodies, and our overseas colleagues. Thank you once again. Over to you, Pradeep.
Many thanks, Atulji, for that welcome. I will pass on the baton to Sri Ravi Boradkar, President of MEDC. Raviji, please take over from here for the proceedings for the welcome speech from MEDC. Raviji, are you there?
Thank you, Pradeep. Honorable Minister Shri Som Prakash ji, Madam Sunita Davra ji, greetings from MEDC. And I also welcome once again to all the distinguished panelists today, and more importantly, all the attendees. A very short brief about MEDC. Sir, MEDC is constituted by leading Chamber of Commerce and Industries to facilitate the rapid economical development of the state and, of course, of the nation in terms. Sir, Council acts as a think tank for the industry associations and business. Now, when we are sort of inviting more FDIs and looking for companies who want to invest in India, I think this is the right time when MEDC is also partnering with PIO SC, so that MEDC wish to be like a bridge between the investors and influencer people of Indian origin and the opportunities here in India and the companies here in India. So at this juncture, I'll only say that MEDC will always be there to facilitate all kind of collaboration, providing all kind of help required and needed with the network of our constituent Chamber of Commerce and Industry associations. So we have certain initiatives where we have been working very closely. For example, the emerging sectors like blue economy, and one of our strengths is also agriculture and food processing. And of course, MEDC is working across all the sectors. I think at this juncture, I will not like to dwell into the details of MEDC's activity, because we are very keen and eager to listen to the Honorable Minister, his ideas, his initiatives for all of us. And of course, we'll also like to listen to the Madam Sunita Davra and then the elite panelists. I can only say that MEDC, with its members and its constituent chambers and industry association, is very keen to partner with the ministry also to take its program to the people, and with also to the people of Indian origin from outside, to facilitate them whatever support they require from here. And that's how we'll be working very closely with PIO SSC. With this thing, I think I will once again welcome everybody and pass it on to Pradeep to proceed further. Thank you.
Many thanks, Raviji, for those warm words. We come to the next part of the speech. This is from our special guest, Padma Shri T.N. Manoharan. Mr. Manoharan is a very known personality, a luminary in the financial circles, and a former president of ICAI and Canara Bank's current chairman. Let me request and welcome Padma Shri T.N. Manoharan to deliver his speech.
Thank you, Pradeep. Honorable Minister, Ministry officials, distinguished panelists, and other participants. A very pleasant good evening to all of you. This is a unique situation, that is COVID-19. But even before this COVID-19, we all were keenly watching the day India's resilience to sail through the global turbulence. When the rest of the world was struggling with their own issues, India was gaining the momentum to gallop to enhance on its $3 trillion GDP size nominal basis and prove to the world that it is in the growth trajectory with the right acceleration. Now, amidst the COVID-19 challenge, we are also able to see that the government under the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister is able to demonstrate its resilience in tackling COVID-19 also. That is visible, though we are the second largest populated country in the world. The number of cases affected, the mortality rate, all those things speak for themselves as to how India is efficiently handling the situation. Now, as far as the scenario on the economic front is concerned, the government of India has rightly announced the stimulus packages and also relief measures so as to convert this adverse situation into a positive scenario so that the economy will be able to reset itself into making use of the advantages that are available within the country and also to use the global investors, more particularly the diaspora, who are very keen on enhancing their connectivity with India. So from that perspective, even last year budget, the government of India announced, the finance minister announced that all newly set up companies in India which get into manufacturing, if they complete the setting up of the project and launch the productivity before 2023, will be entitled for a concessional tax regime of as low as 17%. This is because, Make in India was the prime focus. So we have to move from service sector to manufacturing sector. That vision was clearly piloted then itself. Now the Digital India vision is also getting accelerated. So if we blend both Make in India as well as Digital India, I think India will not only be able to overcome this COVID-19 situation, it will also provide as the most attractive destination for the global investors. China, as we know, is facing severe adversity in the global environment. And many multinational companies, industries who have set up there want to migrate. So it is not only for the Indian diaspora who are settled abroad, who want to invest in India, but even for the other nationals, other multinational companies who want to migrate from China and move elsewhere. What are the economies that are available? What are the geographies that are attractive? Besides India, we can look at maybe Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Bangladesh, so on and so forth. But why should Indian diaspora as well as the other investors, global investors, look at India as more competitive comparatively with other jurisdictions? So from that perspective, before I highlight some of the aspects, let me quickly mention which are the industries which are adversely affected in the present scenario in India, which is obvious. So apparel and textiles, auto sector, aviation, hotel, tourism, hospitality, non-food retail, shipping, real estate, building, construction, and allied activities. Though these are all temporarily affected, I'm sure with the kind of relief packages and stimulus that have been announced, I'm sure with a little gestation period, they will bounce back. But there are many sectors which are happening sectors in India. To highlight some of them, technology by itself is happening sector, and healthcare, pharma, utilities, because there is a move to even privatize some of these things. And public-private partnership is also on the anvil. Mining, mining not only coal but also other minerals, defense manufacturing, space and atomic energy related activities, telecommunications, education, financial servicing, food processing. So all these sectors are offering very attractive investment opportunities in India. And why should investors prefer India? 5 years ago, in 2014, India was ranked 142nd in ease of doing business. But today, we are at 63, ranked at 63, because from 142 we moved to 130, then to 100, and then to 77. Now last year we moved to 63rd rank. Now the government is measures to improve upon easy registration of properties, expeditious disposal of commercial disputes, and to further simplify the tax regime. I'm confident if these three reforms are taken to their logical conclusion, India will move within the top 50 destinations in terms of ease of doing business. Secondly, there is enormous amount of upgradation of industrial infrastructure in this country. Fast track investment clearance, FDI policy got liberated long back, and automatic route has been in place for many sectors, and empowered group of secretaries will clear the investment proposals on a fast track basis, and project development cell is in place to guide and assist the investors, and states are going to be ranked on their ability to attract investments, new investments to their state. And not only that, about 3,376 industrial parks and special economic zones in 5 lakh hectare stretch is mapped in the industry information systems to facilitate smooth accessing of the information and decision making by the global investors. And largest consumer market. So instead of, many of India's balance of payments is adverse only because our imports are more than our exports. As Honorable Prime Minister mentioned, this is the opportunity for us to become self-reliant. It is self-reliant India movement that is shaping up. And once that is done, I think we will be making India and explore the opportunities of meeting the consumerism immensely available within India. And for the surplus, we can facilitate even global companies who start manufacturing in India to set up export hubs within India. Not only that, we have the demographic advantage. While America's population is a stagnated population, European, Australian population is declining population, Japanese, Chinese population is aging population. It is only India's population which is very young population, and a lot of skilling opportunities are there, and a lot of skilling activity is being monitored by the government of India, so that we reap the demographic dividend out of this advantage. And lastly, we have the immense potential to also exploit the resources, the natural mineral resources. No doubt at present tourism is at the lowest ebb, and it may take some time to recover. But when the economy gains momentum and this scenario changes, India has immense potential for developing not only tourism per se, but spiritual tourism and medical tourism. So these are all the opportunities that are available for enhancing the diaspora engagement with India as well as to the rest of the world. 18th and 19th century belong to Europe, 18th century belong to USA, 21st century must belong to India, and we must all make it happen. And I'm sure PIO, CCI and MEDC who have taken this initiative will facilitate that and take it to logical conclusion to make India stronger, and we will all join together to build a credible economy in this incredible India. Thank you for the opportunity.
Wonderful.
Many thanks to you. Many thanks to you, Manoharan sir. for your inspiring words with a lot of passion behind it. It's been fantastic to hear you. Let me move to the next special guest we have to hear from her, Madam Sumita Davra, Joint Secretary for DPIIT. Your words, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Uh, Good afternoon to Honorable MOS Sri Som Prakash Ji, the Honorable Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Good afternoon to Atul Kulkarni Ji, Working President, PIO CCI. And greetings to all special guests and panelists and other esteemed participants on this webinar today, which is a very important webinar which comes at a very critical point in time on engaging diaspora with India. I can see there are about 100 participants on the webinar at the moment. And I'm sure they are joining us from different parts of the world. I also believe there would be a lot of questions about investing in India, the investment climate in India, in the minds of all the participants. And I do hope we will be able to answer quite a few of your significant concerns in this area. I would also like to state that the present times are also a great opportunity for business community to invest in India and to make use of the opportunities in the different sectors and the different states of the country. All of you are well aware about the recent measures which have been announced by the Government of India, the fiscal and the monetary measures, and also the comprehensive economic package which has been announced. Apart from that, specifically for attracting investments in India, a number of institutional interventions have been undertaken. For example, the single window system is being put in place at the national level, which seeks to converge the clearances which are required by investors from the various ministries and the states and enable them to get easy and time-bound regulatory clearances. Secondly, the ease of doing business. India has been doing quite well on the ease of doing business and has gone up significantly in the rankings in the last 5 years. At the moment, we are also encouraging EODB, the ease of doing business, to be extended to the districts so that the touch points are reduced and clearances and regulatory environment is more smooth on the ground level. In addition to all this, we are also building a GIS-enabled land bank at the national level, the national portal, which is in place at the moment, the Industrial Information System. We are integrating the state land banks there. Presently, we have integrated about 4.7 lakh hectares of land in the industrial parks in India on this portal, and 1.21 lakh hectare of land is available for ready occupation by potential investors. These are in the industrial parks of the country. There are about 3,370 industrial parks which are already mapped under this system. And we are making progress, and in a couple of weeks' time, we hope to launch the first phase of the land bank and open it to the public domain. This apart, if you see the startup system, India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. And we have more than 30 unicorns today in India with a valuation of more than 100 billion US dollars. India is the best breeding ground for new businesses. More than 30,000 startups have been recognized in the last few years alone from 2016 onwards. And may I also remind you that in terms of the foreign direct inflows, foreign direct investments, India is in the top 10 recipients of FDI. And in 2018-19, India attracted 62 billion USD worth of FDI in the various sectors. Given this environment and given the proactive approach being taken by various ministries, which have been launching incentive schemes, incentive packages, and also the support which has been announced in the economic packages, which also includes the new scheme for upgradation of infrastructure in the industrial clusters, We invite the business community to take a deeper interest in investing in India. And we are here, our agency of Invest India is here to handhold. I recall in January when Kulkarni ji had approached our Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry and wanted to launch a special section in Invest India, a special division in Invest India to look after the investments from PIOCCI. We were able to deliver in a matter of few hours, and we had a very impressive launch on 10th of January this year. We hope to take this initiative forward at a much faster pace. Thank you very much for your patience and this opportunity.
Many thanks, Madam Smita Davra. Great to hear you for that matter, and really appreciate you joining us. From this point, let's move to the speech from the chief guest, which you have been waiting for. Let me invite Sri Som Prakash Ji, Honorable Minister of State and Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Sir, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Atul Kulkarni Ji, panelists from industry and business, and MEDC, and other distinguished participants. It's a pleasure to talk to you. We are passing through a very difficult period, never faced by the world, but we have to work in the system. And Prime Minister of India has given a call of self-reliant Indian movement, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. He has given a call for that purpose. He has said that 5 pillars of the Atmanirbhar Bharat are economy, infrastructure, system, vibrant demography, and demand. And he has announced a package of 20 lakh crores for different sectors of the economy. And he has also given a call that we must become vocal for our local products and make them global. Self-reliant Bharat is the theme. Self-reliant Bharat is the aim of the. And after this post-COVID period, we have to work very hard to achieve that. We have to convert the problem into opportunities. India must become world leader. India must become world leader, and 21st century must belong to India. And world is recognizing India as a destination of choice for investment. Make in India is the program, as Chairman Canara Bank was telling, ease of doing business. India has the ranking of 63, and we hope to achieve the ranking of 50, low 50. India has become an attractive attraction for the global investments. And in the year 18-19, high rate of remittances was in 2018 and 19. That was the best period. And India emerged as new destination for investment. And Prime Minister says that every NRI is an ambassador of India, India's culture and values. And you people living in different countries, you represent the Indian values, India's culture. And here in India, we must provide congenial atmosphere for you to invest. For that purpose, as Mr. Davda was just telling, that single window system and effective single window system is there to help you timely clearances for all the things. And we have liberal FDI policy. And so many schemes. Make India scheme announced by the Prime Minister of India, starts up. And we are also going to change our industrial policy, commercial policy, logistic policy. We are bringing changes in everything so that it becomes attraction for you people to invest in India. I hope that with your help, and India will achieve the targets it will become Atmanirbhar Bharat, and the local brands must become local products. It must become global. It must achieve the importance of being global. So we in this meeting will listen to you, your problems, what you want to say. We will form the policies accordingly. I hope today's meeting will guide us and achieve the targets whatever we are before us. And in defense sector also, 74% investment has been opened. It's for the first time Prime Minister has announced that the 74% investment from FDI is open in defense sector. So NRIs are their investors in world. So with your assistance, with your help, with your investment, India must emerge as new destination, and more remittances come from through FDI through you. I hope that today's meeting will be an opportunity for all the people, all the participants to achieve and help us to achieve our target. Prime Minister's image, the Prime Minister's aim to become India self-reliant. I hope all with your help we will achieve this program. And agenda of this meeting was sent very late to us, and we are just I will try to talk to you, note your points, and they change our policies. Whatever help we can give to you, we are here to. Our ministry is here, Madam Dabra is here. We will note down your sessions, and I am to leave after 1 hour session at 5. At 5, I am to leave for some important meeting. Please for the adjust accordingly. Thank you very much for today's meeting. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Respected Minister. Thank you for your insightful and inspiring words. We have time for question and answers. So we have a few questions which has been put across already from various stakeholders. On their behalf, I'll put the questions back onto you, Respected Minister, as well as Madam Dabra, and I'll request your answers to the same. If I may go, the first question comes from Mr. Ravi Chand. He asked the question saying that that is to Madam Dabra. How do we get details of all the 30,000 investment parks? Do NRIs and PIOs have any preference in the allotment? Madam Dabra.
Yes. So if you go to the website of DPIIT, you will be able to access Industrial Information System. If possible, I'll type the link on the chat box just now. So you can go to that link and you can see details of the 3,300 odd industrial parks. Let me, however, also add that we are revamping the look of the site. Maybe another couple of weeks, you'll have a new look. But for the moment, it is there. And like I said, the land bank, GIS-enabled land bank, will be launched into the public domain maybe in another few weeks. So, but you have considerable information. You can go to the industrial parks. You can see which sectors, which parks. There's a lot of information you can already see over there.
Thank you, Madam Dabra. That's very helpful. If you could just send that across the link as well in the meanwhile, if you have time, that would be very nice. The second question we have is for the respected minister. This comes from a gentleman, Shailesh Sharma. He asked that why the tourism sector in India has got no support or less support from the government.
Tourism, after this disease, this Mahamari disease, it is very difficult to work in this region. It will take some time, and India is keen to help the tourism in India. The tourism, traditional tourism, and this health tourism, and so on. So after some time, we will be there. Tourism ministry. In fact, otherwise we would have apart from Ministry of Tourism also. If you have given us the agenda before, so whatever help is required from Government of India side, we are there to help you. And you just make your point. What help you want from us, we will try to help you with.
Thank you, Minister. We will, if there is any questions, please put it across the chat box. Let me also request the panelists, respected panelists, if you have any questions before we start into the individual panelists for their presentations. If you have any questions, please put that across now before we move into the next one, which is from Invest India.
Pradeep, can I come in here?
Yeah, please do, Atulji.
Yeah, I would request the panelists to be very, very specific and give your suggestions rather than putting across questions, because I'm sure later on the presentation from Invest India would probably clarify most of the things. So if you have any specific 1 or 2 points which the Honorable Minister, as he mentioned in his speech, should take note, I think I would request the panel members to please do that. Thank you.
That's helpful.
Thank you.
Maybe you can call out the so that they can speak.
So, Nandakishore ji, any points from your side to start with?
Well, certainly, I would like to emphasize the importance of agriculture and food processing as an area of opportunity for Indian diaspora as well as Indian investors. Well, no one can overemphasize the importance of agriculture, not only as a provider of food and jobs, but also as raw material for our industries, and more importantly, as a provider of purchasing power in the hands of teeming millions. Our agricultural exports at the moment is hardly 10% of the total exports of 300 billion US dollars, which is about 30 billion. And our objective should be to increase it to at least $60 billion in the next 3 years' time. And that could happen if we just emphasize on certain crops of where we have competitive advantage. It could be sugar, cotton, milk, rice. Now herbs that could be emphasized, fruits and fish. So this is an area where a concerted effort is required to be made. What is required from the government is a consistency of policy, because physical infrastructure is very important for everything, but equally important is the policy infrastructure and consistency of policy infrastructure. That is very important for agricultural exports. One area where I would like to emphasize is India can become the seed providers to the world. We have the technology, we have lands, hands, sunshine, water, and technology. And we can provide seeds to the world. But unfortunately, this is one area which is neglected. It is the Honorable Minister is here. There is no incentive at all that is provided for this sector. There is an incentive provided for the export of agricultural products, but not for the seed, which is highly technical input. Sir, just for information, even if we have 1 million hectares of land under seed production, it is so labor intensive that it can provide jobs to about 10 million people. And this is not a surmise. This can be seen on the ground. Another area is this food processing, where our appeal could be to Indian diaspora. Government of India under the Ministry of Food Processing has set up and operate. There are 20 operational mega food parks with massive investment in capacity creation. And government has come up with a scheme called Sampada, where they're offering 50% subsidy, a grant. There is interest subvention, and more importantly, there is an income tax of 5 years. This is a very attractive opportunity for our friends from abroad to bring, more particularly to invite companies, I would say international companies who are looking for alternative source of supply next 22 time. These are the brief recommendations from my side, appeal from my side, please.
Thank you, Nandakishore ji. We got a few questions coming in the meanwhile, while I am conscious of the fact that Honorable Minister is expected to leave by 5, and these questions are specifically to you, sir. So I'll suggest that probably I put these questions to you. So there is a question specific from South Africa. There's a person joined called Karishma Kajal Singh, putting across saying that multiple generations they've been there in South Africa, and essentially they are the 4th generation people, and they obtained their OCI, but they are not able to. They want to invest, but they aren't allowed to do so, being outside of the 4th generation. So if I may read out what they're saying, that our forefathers are arrived here in 1860, and while my forefathers have come later, I am lucky to have obtained my OCI, but most others want to invest but aren't allowed to do so, being outside of the 4th generation. The Indian diaspora in South Africa have significantly contributed. Is there anything we could do in terms of helping it?
They're welcome to invest in India. There's FDI policies there, or if he has an OCI card, then they will be considered as a more liberal policy for the investment in India. And he has roots in India. I am happy that they have loved India. Their roots in India, they have the Indian culture, they understand Indian culture and the values of Indian life. So they are welcome to invest in India. They can sit with the people, West India people. They can help them, they help and guide them properly, and they can just get in touch with their agency. They will help them to properly invest. And for that purpose, as if they are in agriculture field, Indian economy is agricultural economy. There is mega food park scheme under which 50% subsidy is given. That's a very good scheme under which agro-waste industry, mega food parks are being established, and that's very attractive scheme. And if they get in touch with the West India, certainly they will help them and guide them properly to invest in the area where agriculture is the most demanding and attractive place for them.
Thank you, Minister. That's very helpful. Shall we just move into the next panelists in terms of their suggestions? Can I request Sri Arvind Dumal, who is also the president for Laghu Udyog Bharati, to give his suggestions?
सूक्ष्म लघु तथा मध्यम उद्योगों के उत्थान हेतु निरंतर प्रयासरत विश्व के सबसे बड़े और देश के एकमात्र राष्ट्रव्यापी और राष्ट्रवादी संगठन लघु उद्योग भारती के पंजाब प्रांत के अध्यक्ष के रूप में सोम प्रकाश जी, आदरणीय मंत्री जी को बहुत बहुत नमस्कार, सभी पैनलिस्ट को नमस्कार और एनआरआई भाइयों को बहुत बहुत नमस्कार। हमारे एनआरआई भाइयों को बहुत स्वागत है, वे भारत में निवेश करें, क्योंकि मैं पंजाब का लघु उद्योग भारती का अध्यक्ष हूँ। पंजाब के संदर्भ में बात कर सकता हूँ। अभी तो पंजाब इज द मोस्ट अर्बनाइज्ड स्टेट। यहाँ रोड कनेक्टिविटी सभी मेजर इंडस्ट्रियल टाउन से बड़ी अच्छी है, रेलवे कनेक्टिविटी है, यहाँ पे 2 इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट्स हैं, रिलीजियस टूरिज्म का बहुत यहाँ पे संभावना है, मेडिकल टूरिज्म, यहाँ की इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बहुत चीप है इन कंपैरिजन टू अदर स्टेट्स, स्किल्ड लेबर की यहाँ अवेलेबिलिटी है, यहाँ पे एक संपन्न मध्यम वर्ग है। पंजाब के बहुत से लोग विदेशों में फंसे हैं, उनसे नेटवर्किंग के माध्यम से नई टेक्नोलॉजी से यहाँ अपग्रेडेशन बहुत अच्छी हो सकती है। और पंजाब में बहुत सारी आइटम्स के हब है, यहाँ पर हॉजरी है, साइकिल पार्ट्स है, वॉल्स एंड कॉक्स है, फुटवेयर्स है, स्पोर्ट्स गुड्स है, लेदर गुड्स है, तो बहुत ज्यादा इंडस्ट्री है यहाँ पे, बहुत अच्छा संभावना है, आप यहाँ इन्वेस्ट करेंगे। और उसके साथ साथ मैं ये भी बताऊं, अकेले पंजाब में ही नहीं, भारत में कहीं भी हमारे जो एनआरआई बंधु हैं वे इन्वेस्ट करना चाहेंगे तो लघु उद्योग भारती की प्रेजेंस जम्मू कश्मीर से लेकर कन्याकुमारी तक और असम और अंडमान निकोबार से लेकर गोवा, महाराष्ट्र, गुजरात तक 500 इंडस्ट्रियल टाउन से हमारी प्रेजेंस है और भारत के 450 जिलों में हमारे संगठन काम कर रहा है। आपको अपना बिजनेस एस्टेब्लिश करने में कहीं किसी प्रकार की भी सहायता होगी तो लघु उद्योग भारती आपके साथ है, पूरी गाइडेंस देने के लिए, पूरा मार्गदर्शन देने के लिए। मेरा बस इतना ही कहना था, आपकी सहायता के लिए हम इसमें तैयार हैं। धन्यवाद।
Thank you very much, Arvind ji. There is one question specifically to the minister. I think there is a lot of excitement in terms of putting questions to the minister. Honorable Minister, the question is from Mr. Shailesh. Again, the question is related to tourism. The point is that is there any specific coordinates which in the tourism ministry where tourism associations can specifically meet them and take it forward from there? So, if there is anything specific.
आई वुड माननीय मंत्री जी, मैं इसको आपके अगर अनुमति से एड्रेस करना चाहूंगा। मुझे लगता है सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन जो है वो हम बाद में ले सकते हैं। अगर कोई स्पेसिफिक ओवरऑल पॉलिसी वाला मामला होगा तो मुझे लगता है कि वो आना चाहिए। आई थिंक विल लिसन टू द अदर पैनल मेंबर्स फर्स्ट। आई थिंक दैट इज बेटर।
Right. So in that case, thanks Atul ji for that. We're moving into
लघु योग पार्टी का जो अभी क्वेश्चन ले रहे थे, पंजाब।
यस सर, जी हाँ।
पंजाब में तो देखो लघु योग पार्टी से मैं सभी लोगों से मिलता रहता हूँ। आई बिलोंग टू पंजाब। फगवाड़ा से बहुत सारे लोग, होशियारपुर से जलंधर है, लुधियाना है, सभी लोग मिलते रहते हैं। देयर इज lot of scope to sports also and invest also. There is sports industry, there are leather industry, there are houses, there are textiles, there are garments are there, and this engine parts exported to most of the countries from this place. So we can play our role, and new technology we should adopt. And now is the time when we can compete with China. Most of the industries are shifting from China, and there's the opportunities are available with us. We have to grab the opportunity. We have to live in the system, and we have to compete with them also. So there are this is the opportunity. There are opportunities in Vietnam also, opportunities in Bangladesh also. We have to grab that opportunity and use for make India great.
जी धन्यवाद, धन्यवाद मंत्री।
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Can I request Mr. Dharmesh Shah, Chairman of BDR Pharma, to have his suggestions on the table, please? Mr. Dharmesh Shah.
Yes.
Mr. Dharmesh Shah, if you're there, you may please put across your suggestion to the Minister.
This is the industry which is always satisfied.
Looks to be fine. We are not hearing much anywhere from anywhere else.
Maybe if we can move to the next one.
Yeah, so the last one of the panelists we have is Sri Subhash Goyal ji, member of National Tourism Advisory Council, Ministry of Tourism. Subhash ji, from your side, your suggestions, if you may, to the Minister, please.
Take up the interest of the IATA ticketing agents and the refunds that are due with the airlines. IATA has to take up the refunds which are with the hotels and other things. So similarly, the adventure tour operators are taking up issues of the adventure operators, the mountaineers and all, and domestic tour operators are interacting with on various issues of their membership. But Faith is going to take up 5 points with the center, which is the finance ministry, through the tourism ministry, and we will take up 5 points with all the state tourism ministers, where the help of people like you and other chapter chairmen of all the states, because they have influence. Because as far as the electricity bills, as far as immediate grants to the members, there's a lot of funds available with the state governments also. So I think we have to leave no stone unturned. I will not say that Faith has everything ready. Right now, this idea has come up only day before yesterday in the board meeting, and some blueprint has been prepared, which will be shared by all the members once the legal people are able to look at it, and we are taking the help of the lawyers right now without
It would have been better if you have sent the agenda note in advance, so that we should have called these persons from the that ministry also. So we are noting your points, and we can forward it to the concerned ministry. They can comment on it, and they can guide you on this. I just last evening I received your 5 points, and Madam Daura was also conveying me that it's not possible to call everybody here in the meeting. So we will certainly, we have noted your points and we will forward it to the concerned ministry.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I think we are closing the questions time being conscious of time. So we will move into the next agenda, which is a presentation by Invest India. Sri Siddhartha Anand, Senior IVP for Invest India, is presenting, and I request Vibhaji to put across the presentation through.
Can you put out the presentation?
Hi everyone. I cannot see the presentation. If you could project the presentation.
Yeah, he's just playing it. Just a moment, please.
Meanwhile, hi everyone. Thank you PIOCCI for giving me this opportunity to present this. I'm Siddharth. I'm Senior AVP at Invest India. I'm the coordinator for key states in Invest India, which include Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka. My presentation, since time given to me is 10 minutes, will be very short in this. I have 22 odd slides to cover. So my presentation will be in 3 parts. First would be letting people know about what Invest India is, what we do exactly. And second part would be doing business in India, the total attractiveness index of India, the kind of steps that the government has taken to make India a better place to invest. And the third would be to give you a little bit of insight about investment opportunities in key sectors. Next slide, please. Can you move to the next slide? Next slide, please. Yes. It's about Invest India. Invest India is India's national investment promotion and facilitation agency. This is very unique kind of formation. Wherein state government, central government, chambers of industry, they all have come together with the sole mission of helping investors, holding their hats and walk along their investment journey, right from concept to commissioning of their projects. So we interact a lot with the foreign missions, with state governments, with industrial chambers such as PIOCCI, CII, FICCI, to ensure that any investment interest, be it from any country, any size, going into any state, pertaining to any sector, is facilitated and grounded at the earliest. So ever since Make in India was launched, we have successfully closed more than 232,000 queries, investment business requests from 117 nations pertaining to 40 sectors. Could you please go back to the earlier sectors? And these have gone into 37 states and UTs. We work very closely with PIOCCI, the partnership, the relationship that began on 10th January this year. Munish ji and I have been working very closely on few investment interests, and we are on a weekly basis, we are discussing on how to take this relationship forward. Next slide, please. Now, there are different initiatives that Invest India undertakes. Invest India is the implementation agency of various government initiatives such as Startup India, India Investment Grid, Agni, Project Monitoring Group, and Make in India. When it comes to Startup India, as you might be knowing, Startup India is to help build the startup ecosystem, help startups gain prominence, help startups reduce gestation time that they might have to incur during their course of operation. What Invest India has helped in this program is that they've helped more than 27,000 startups get Startup India recognition, which entails them to avail several tax initiatives and various IPR protection facilities. And you can see the spread of startups that have been recognized by DPIIT. This is across the length and breadth of the country. Next slide, please. Next slide. The second initiative that Invest India is part of is Agni, which is run under the aegis of Office of Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India. This is a very special initiative in which the sole aim is to ensure that innovation meets commercialization. We have the innovation ecosystem where we have startups, research labs, academic institutions, individual innovators. On the other hand, we have the industry, global companies, large Indian companies, MSMEs, and then we have the government departments and organizations. What we do is that we help them, we help in matchmaking, and we ensure that there is dedicated support for commercialization for these startups. Right now, we already have linked to more than 100 incubators, and we are connected to more than 109 industry. Next slide, please. This is a very interesting project that we have been having for the last 2 years. A lot of time, particularly from PIOs and NRIs, they have had question that we have the capital, but we do not know where to invest. Now we sort of try to answer that, and we have created a portal called Investment India Investment Grid.gov. Now, India Investment Grid is like a menu that is of investable projects. So you have a list of all the projects based on your investment appetite and based on your capital, based on where you want to invest, which sector. You will find the investment opportunities in those sectors. You can see that we have investable projects identified for each state and UT in India. We have on this portal more than 2,000 promoters, more than 12,000 investors, and this portal has been accessed by more than 195 countries till now. Next slide. Now, next slide. Now, this is just a snapshot. I wanted to give you a snapshot of how it exactly looks. So this is a snapshot of tourism sector, the investment potential of tourism sector on India Investment Grid. This is not the total investment potential of tourism sector. This is what is present on India Investment Grid. So right now on India Investment Grid on IIT, we have 208 projects worth more than $3.33 billion. If you click visit this website, go into the details. You can go into details. You can find the details of the project, the debt and equity funding requirements. What are the important deadlines that one need to keep in mind while investing, and other information as well. Now, the second box that you see in this slide is about a subsector, which is tourism ecosystem. It has this subsector itself has an investment potential of $1.04 billion. Next slide, please. Now, there are two more subsectors within tourism, MICE, which is about conventional sectors. So we have 45 projects listed on IIG, worth $674 million. And then in pure play hotel subsector, we have 31 projects worth $301 million. I request you to please register yourself on IIG and look for options where you can invest. These are all ready-made projects, specially crafted for you, and these are ready to be invested right now. Next slide, please. Similarly, we have mapped out investment opportunities in pharma and biotech projects. In pharma and biotech, we have 17 projects worth $3.66 billion. India Investment Grid also has a list of all the investment projects which need acute funding right now. So you might want to log in at some point of time. If you find difficulty in accessing this website, you have a very responsive helpline number that you can call, and the team will get back. Next slide, please. Now, talking about the opportunity that Invest India or the country has. So it has been estimated that the total investment opportunity by 2025 will be of $5 trillion. This is across sectors. Even for small sectors such as leather, we have more than 30 billion of opportunities. When it comes to renewable, you know about the target that the Honorable Prime Minister has, the vision that he has for renewable sector, for oil and gas, for ESDM. ESDM is one particular sector where we have seen a lot of interest, a lot of action, particularly in states, newer industrial states such as Uttar Pradesh and Telangana. And then the usual sectors, sectors which attract foreign investments such as auto components, pharma and textiles. Next slide, please. Now, this is about pure play infrastructure. You know, the total renewable target is 225 gigawatts, with more than 100 smart cities to be built, 5 industrial corridors right now. You know, more than more greenfield plus expansion of more than 400 airports and dry ports. These are all focus sectors which need investments, capital investments immediately. And you will find all these information on Invest India's website and on India Investment Grid. And you can reach out to us, Invest India team, if you have any questions. Next slide. Now as Joint Secretary Sumita ma'am actually explained why India is among the top 10 receipts of FDI in India, you can see the reason behind it. So we have, ever since 2014, where we were at 142nd point in World Bank's Doing Business ranking. Last year we were at number 63. That's a huge jump when you see, and there is a reason behind this. A lot of structural reforms that have been taking place during the last government and this government that has led to the improvement in this ranking. In Logistic Performance Index also we have risen 10 places. In Innovation Index also we have improved our ranking. Next slide, please. There was this interesting study that Bloomberg Media Group conducted last year, where they mapped almost 10 parameters across political stability, currency stability, respect for IPR, anti-corruption, low-cost production. If you see, India is, except for the two where India is at second and fourth place, India is the destination. India is the place where investors prefer to be there and to invest. Next slide, please. Now, this is by Economic Times how investing in India bears fruit for foreign subsidiaries. There are examples where Indian subsidiaries of foreign companies have had far larger market capitalization. The confidence that stock markets have in these Indian subsidiaries. For example, Suzuki's Indian subsidiaries in market cap is even higher than Suzuki's global parent market cap in fact. Similarly for Standard Oils. This is a very, if you look at the left box also, the average IRR that these companies enjoy for India-focused fund has been higher than the all Asia-based funds. Next slide, please. Now, I'm going to cover the last section is about covering investment opportunities in two sectors. I was asked to cover these two sectors in particular, tourism and pharmaceuticals. Now, steps that have been taken is, 100% FDI is allowed in tourism sector, and there are different corridors that have been identified for investments in India. And when we talk about the demand side, we have had 73.5% growth of e-tourist visas in India, and growth of the domestic air travelers has risen significantly. India is domestically also one of the fastest growing aviation market in India. 4 major circuits which invite investors: Coastal Circuit, Himalayan Circuit, Northeast India Circuit, which is being developed right now, and the Buddhist Circuit is right for investments in India. Next slide, please. Now, India's rank in tourism, we have seen #1 in growth sector among the G20 countries, 37% rise in FTEs, and it is #2 when it comes to employment generation. We've had a very nice thriving startups when it comes to most funded market for tourism startups. And then emerging segments, Honorable Minister briefly touched on medical tourism index, which is and it is expected to touch $9 billion by end of this year. And this is a priority sector because it contributes 9.4% to the GDP. Next slide, please. Now, the initiatives that have been taken in this sector is, as I mentioned earlier, is about 100% allowed in tourism sector. There are 13 theme circuits being developed under Swadesh Darshan. There are 25 sites identified for infrastructure development under pilgrimage rejuvenation, which is Prasad, and 5 tourism zones which are to be developed. And there are, e-visas, as I said, which led to massive increase in FTEs. Now, 170 countries are eligible for e-visa scheme, which actually further the demand side of the tourism sector. Next slide, please. Now, the investment circuits, when it comes to tourism and infrastructure, you see that more than 400 railway stations are to be redeveloped under Ministry of Railways. This is under Ministry of Railways, but this also has an element of tourism in it. More than 111 inland waterways have been declared as national water highways. There is a huge 190,000 shortage of hotel rooms that the industry needs right now.
How many slides you have?
Just 3 more slides, sir.
Finish it.
Sure, sir.
Please.
Now, can you move the next slide? Pharmaceuticals, I'll just cover just once.
As quickly as possible.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Now, pharma, we know that India is the largest supplier of low-cost generics, vaccines, and affordable HIV medicines. $36 billion, a growth of 10 to 50%, and almost $20 billion exports in 18-19. We have had investments from France, UK, Germany, Japan, US, and Spain. 3rd largest in volume, 10th largest in value. Next slide, please. We've had a very positive initiatives from the department. Stable. We have a very stable pricing policy. We have production linked incentive scheme from the government, and we have had a new national intellectual property right policy that came in force in 2016, and the FDI policy 100% in greenfield, 74% in brownfield. Next slide, please. So these are all the benefits. In paucity of time, I'm not going to in details for these. This will be circulated by the organizers. But Invest India team will be very happy to address any questions that you might have in the chat. In the chat box, I'm going to write the details of how to get in touch with us. We have security teams which will handle you and make sure that you won't face any difficulty when it comes to setting up business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Siddhartha. Thanks for the database presentation on that one. I have been given to understand that the Honorable Minister has to leave. So on behalf of Minister, do you would like to add something?
Thank you very much for joining this meeting. It's a wonderful meeting, very educative. I hope with your views will be benefited, and you will get in touch with Invest India and our ministry. Madam Davra, she is here, and Invest India people are here. They will do best to help you out in your projects. I hope, and I am a firm believer that in the Prime Minister's slogan of Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant India, will become a truth, and it will become, and India will emerge as world leader and strong. Atma की दया, जैसे हम बोलते हैं, India will emerge as great leader. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Honorable Minister. On behalf of PIOCCI, MEDC, Invest India, the participants, the panelists, and on my behalf, let me take the time to thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts and to look forward for all your support and ensuring that we together makes a great India. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
With no further ado, I'm actually moving into the next session, which is the address by the panelists. And towards that, let me invite Sri Nandakishore Kagliwal, founder, chairman of Nath Group of Industries, to have his address through the next couple of minutes' time. Mr. Nandakishore Kagliwal, please.
Well, rather than address, let me start with some questions. Mr. Siddharth Anand made a very impressive presentation. Siddharthji, I'm sure Invest India has identified projects of interest for Indian diaspora in the field of agriculture and food processing as well. And with respect to mega food parks, the capacity which have been created. If that be so, it would be very enlightening for everybody.
Sorry, sir, I could not get the last part. Was the question directed to me?
I said, Invest